Well, very good afternoon to each and everyone who has joined us live once again on YouTube on the channel Indian Design League. मैं आपका host once again in this afternoon. खाना खाने के बाद लंच के टाइम में संडे आफ्टरनून, बारिश का मौसम, पकौड़े की खुशबू मेरे घर में हो रही है. I'm not sure about your, but I'm promising you that you are going to make this Sunday worth. So my name is Amritansh Tiwari and we are on Indian Design League channel YouTube. जहाँ पे today we have with us Pratna ma'am, the principal interior designer of Inspiration, the Design Avenue. Your design speaks tales of lobby design, ceilings, drawing rooms, windows, pantries, and likewise. You make decor look like a piece of cake. An interior decorator and designer who gets inspired, and today you are with us to inspire all of us in next 1.5 hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever time you want to take. So we are very glad and we are thankful that you took time out of your busy schedule to join us. The stage is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Amritanshu. And I am overwhelmed to be on this platform again. It's so much pleasure to be with students and with the energetic crowd. So good afternoon, all the students. I hope this session enthralls you all. So I think the topic for today is factors that influence design. Okay, so let's put in a question. What is design? So design has become a fetish, a charm, a fancy. And we as designers, we as in me and you, the future designers, play a major role in contributing towards the positivity in design. Design is everywhere around and is a variable. It means and feels different to everyone. We can find design in a product. We can find design in a simple coffee mug. We can find design in each and everything that is around us. Design is perceived so distinctively by you, the person sitting next to you, the person sitting in front of you, or rather at the back of you. Each one has a different perception of it. We make things come to life and we curate it for the world. So we play a very important part in the process of design. Everyone wants to be a designer, but not everyone can. You need to bleed for it. Yeah, you've heard me right. You need to bleed for it. It's not an easy task. It seems easy, but it isn't. A good designer, as per my understanding, understands people as design comes from people. We are designing spaces for the end person, which is a person, like a people, right? It is so important to know, and if you are born with this ability or have developed it for better, then you also have a responsibility towards the society to give back a better design environment. I want to take you through this video. did this make you happy? When I first watched this video, I really could feel the space, the span, the forms, and everything connected to it. And I feel that personally, that if you can make a happy place for a person, that is the most successful part of your professional life. So going ahead, nature is the major source of inspiration of all designs, be it the seas, the oceans, the mountains, the barren lands, the creatures walking, anything, each and every single element has something to offer for design. And that is where the real inspiration comes from. And we also have to give it a thought that if such vastness with such vibrant colors, patterns, and spans can give us happiness, can't we pick up some of the features and elements and create happy places, vibrant places, contentful places for a living for us? These are few references for from the nature part. Likewise, I feel that food also comes, like these natural things also come from nature. So these kind of fruits, vegetables, and I think like talking in unison for design as a whole, not just interior design, design as a whole. I've seen like students at the fashion fraternity taking inspiration from these as well. They can be used in the patterns of the prints of clothing, the kind of the formation of a drape, or likewise, like a peel, a fruit peel is kind of an inspiration for major of people when they start off in designing. So little things, I think they add up, and how you get inspired and how you use them takes your design ahead. So design at different times. Now, if you can see, we are talking here about design evolution. Design evolution, like if we think about, if you can see the dates, 1870 to 1969, mass production. So classical design. Classical design is an old school style of designing things with perfection. When actually the designing, the concept of, creating houses and those things, the basic things, when they started getting developed into larger scale establishments and things, then the kind of design that got intrusion into the design field was termed as a classical design. Like that was picked up from a basic one zone. Like this zone used to have the similar kind of buildings or the interior or the architecture, and or the design as a complete. Then moving ahead, we have this design thinking, which was an internet bubble wherein we started connecting to different parts of the places of the country where you can take inspiration from. And that's how the design, I would say the design scenario started changing and evolving. So this was a major part of the process of design evolution. I would also say that because we started combining and we started thinking about design in a different way, giving it a very creative approach, mixing of trends, mixing of classical designs, wherein we saw a mixing of materials. Like a lot of shuffling happened during this time period, which was 1995 to 2001, and then came in the 21st century, which gave us a different platform altogether for the design purposes, wherein we are now exposed to so much. And I think each and every part of the design evolution helps us to, kind of, we still do the classical design, and we still, do the mixing of design. And So it is such a nice combination, and I would say opportunity we have, that we can actually mix up and create something nice. But then definitely this is a part of the design evolution that I wanted to put forth in front of you, that we have been into the classical design phase where we were just zoned out, into one segment. Then we kind of mixed up, and now there's no limitation. Like you can see, computational design is a software-based design that is directly related to anything in any which way. These are half sentences so that you can just connect to it, and you can add on and add on, and there's no limit to design. So I think, yeah, this is a very important thing to look at. One of the most important phases of product design is actually done before the design process even starts. Now, product here, the word product here is referred to a design output. It can be anything from, like, taking reference into interiors. It can be a bungalow or a big, huge, large-scale architectural building, or to a simple, even a small, a safety pin, I would say. And so it is a product. Okay. So before you start building a design, you need to understand the context for existence. It's the time when the design team must define the design vision and strategy. So it's a very simple thing if you understand this, that before, obviously, if you're starting up something to design, you start thinking and you start building on the context of it, for what it is required, what is the basis of this product. So there are not many factors that go into the building of a product for the final outcome. And that listing, that knowing, that understanding, and then that I would say actually putting it into process is very important. And definitely design is something, as we've always talked about, it's always a team effort. So it's very rightly mentioned that the design, it's the time when the design team must define the design vision and strategy. So you know the factors that go into a product design, and then you should know how to actually process it. So how to develop the design? Now, the first and foremost, which is a very, very important thing, is to know that what the product, as we discussed earlier also, to know what the end product is used for, or who is the user of that end product. So in that process, you get to know, you need to talk to people, you need to understand what is the product, what is the requirement, why is it, and how is it to be there. And then we move on to the next thing, which is definition, defining the lines. So like I would like to give an example here. Like, clients come to us and then they give us their requirements. Like if a client comes in for a luxury residence, so they give us their requirements. Some things are adequately proposed, and some things are some requirements or some color schemes or something or the other, some element is not sometimes suitable to that project. So we kind of take the requirements from the client, and then we kind of define, okay, this the final outcome out of these requirements, these things are important to finally define the end product. And then we go on to the next thing, which is ideate. So definitely, when you've listed down, what you want to make, then you have to think that how is it going to be. So then comes in the design process, which is the amalgamation of the entire thought process, discussions, inputs, listings, everything that you've done before. That then later goes into the process of ideating, putting it down on paper, or for that matter, your CAD softwares or any other software that you're using, and then getting out a design prototype. So once you've kind of dwelled on the design product, the final outcome, that you want to have this kind of a design for something, then you kind of make a prototype for it. For designers, it can be a 3D drawing or a visual representation. So, and for other people, definitely it can be something more, physically visible. So these kind of, levels we pass on, and then we finally go on to the testing of it. That, okay, we studied this, we discussed about this, and then how we defined, and then we designed, and then we got the final output. Now we again go back to, after testing, is it like, okay, again we go out to ideate. So, it's kind of an interlinked process, but then it is a very major and important process, and that is how a design is developed. In the normal project also, when the client comes in, we get the requirements, we list it down, we have sit down discussions on the project, design output, what kind of field we want to go in for the project. Because as I discussed earlier, the kind of design at different times, the evolutions of design. So, we kind of think about it, that should we stick to the zonal areas design output, or should we mix it up, or should we do something which is really futurative? So, that's the process that we go ahead with. Now we've learned about the design evolution, design processes. Now, what influences this development of design? We've seen that, okay, design developing is happening, but then what are the bases of this design development? So, as you can see, we have the social and cultural factors. I don't know if you have realized that the community values, religion, history and heritage, artistic fashion, musicals, and literary practices, these are very important, yet kind of subdued when we talk about design discussions. But in the end, it plays a very major role, very, very major role in the output of a design. In the output of design. So community values, when we talk about the cultures, we talk about different religions, we talk about our history and heritage. So these things have few elements and beliefs which definitely kind of affect our design output. For that matter, like if you are designing a building or an interior in Jaipur, now hearing Jaipur, what comes into your mind? What I see is a lot of arches, frescoes, and little pink buildings, bright colors. That's what comes to my mind. So, that is where the heritage and the classical designing comes in. And definitely, likewise, the community values and religion, they also play a major role into, for that matter, there are a few colors. If you talk about colors affect the interiors a lot, the design output a lot. So colors play a major role. I would like to take you through this.
Beliefs and traditions that characterizes a group of people and distinguishes them from other groups. Culture can be a source of both inspiration and constraint.
So going back to these factors, as we discussed, that the colors, they really affect this. Now moving on, what are the elements of design? So I think we are moving ahead in the process. So we also should know that, okay, if we are picking up things from, the heritage background or other likewise elements that we've discussed, what are the basic elements that affect the design process? So here they are: line, shape, form, color, typography, and texture. Line. We all know what lines are, but then often the starting point for all artistic expression, the line is one of the most essential elements of design. It always has more length than thickness and can be unbroken, broken, or implied. A line can be vertical, diagonal, horizontal, and even curved. Points create lines and lines create shapes. And that's what makes a design. So here, if you can see this picture, this is a picture of my actual site, wherein we wanted to have a connect into the bedroom spaces. So, we use lines as a form of connect. So how these things can be incorporated into a design process is what you have to look into. The same line, when curved, this is a ceiling that we are doing. In the same line, that if we curve it, it gives you a different kind of feel. So the same element of design can be used variably, mind you, variably. You cannot even imagine the extent of it that you can go. And I think once you start actually getting into the core designing, you will really understand, and you should use it wisely. Shapes. Now, a shape is a 2 or 3 dimensional object that stands out from the space next to it because of a defined or implied boundary. A shape can live in different areas in space and have other elements like line, color, texture, or movement. Like forms, shapes come in 2 different types: geometric and organic. So I think this is we all know, but then this is the basis of design, right? Now, if you can see, this is a terrace. This is a terrace of an office space where we are designing a circular seating and a garden space for the client. And it's a rectangular terrace. So what we are doing is we are intermingling shapes in this space. So how and what? If the same space would have been in a rectangular design fashion, it would have given a different look. And now that we've incorporated a curvature into it, it's giving a different feel. So I'll definitely share the pictures later when it gets developed further. But yeah, that's how it's going ahead. Form. Now we're using lines, we're using shapes. So it is creating a form. Now earlier you saw that the lines were in a space. It was a part of an element. The form was a part of an element. Now we come into form. We are actually having a form being created with the use of lines and shapes. So if you can see this canopy, these are individual canopies being created with the use of lines being dipped. So, kind of combination and how you develop a form. And I think lines, shapes reach to a form, and then form becomes a major element also of a space. So that's how it goes ahead. In here, I would like to go back. In here, you see this canopy is a freestanding form. It is creating a block, a space for you. That form is giving you a complete space. So when it has a table, a dining table inside. So when you're sitting inside the canopy, it is giving you that spatial feel of, composition. The same way, a form, if you can see on the left side, there is a railing which is, protruding down and forming a planter. So here, so if you can see that, that form is creating a spatial element. It is giving the double height space a different kind of connected form. Likewise, if you see the right side of the element, which is just a decorative form. So, we are seeing different characters of a form itself that forms into design, and then it creates a better space. Color, definitely we all know that, the color palette, the kind of mood. We also use colors to express our daily moods, right, in dressing. And so color is a very strong expression in design. And not necessarily bold colors, but then if you can see this picture, it's just black and white with a little light to it, and it creates a bold feature in a space. Moving on to the next slide, this is also a formation of color. So if you can see the white and black, the kind of feel it gives, and then you move into a gray and blue and black. So it's not something that is very colorful, but then the input of strong colors and the way the colors can be used to express how and what, and it changes the feel of the space. The same space with a different color, a lighter tone, or a different color combination will give you a completely different output. Typography. I've realized that very few people give importance to this. We design a space, and then we don't kind of consider how the space is being represented. You are designing a space, so you know the concepts and the kind of connect and feel that you have with the space. So as a designer, what we do here is we also kind of give names to the places that we design, and we also try to come up with the logo and the kind of the vibe that we want we have in the space to reflect in the name and the representation of it. So here, if you can see, the porch level 1 is a rooftop restaurant that we've done, and we designed this nameplate for them, and the design of the space is a representation of the outdoors. So that is why we've used rugged wood, and we've used the different kind of font that we've that could connect to the outdoors. Now, if you can see, these are yet to be actually done on site. These are proposals. So one restaurant we are doing, which is Utsaha. So we've used mustard and greens, it's a peppiness into it, and then we've kind of increased the height of the edge, and to have that that the edge of feeling of that happiness that we want to give it to the client when they enter, the customers when they enter that space. Likewise, if you see Urban. So Urban is a restaurant which is in black and white, and so we've given a very kind of a techno feel to the nomenclature as well. So these things communicate when you look at the name or the branding for that matter, or for the representation that I'm saying. It connects. It is a communication. It is the cover of the book that the customer or the person who's going to walk inside. This I'm talking about the commercial part of it, but in residences also, when we design the elevations, when we do the outdoors and the inners, some connect has to be there, and definitely that reflection of the inside out should always be there. Texture. Now, like color, definitely texture is also very important. The right texture with the right color is going to give you the best output. So if here you can see, we have had this apartment that we did. So if you can see, we've used a very grainy marble on the floor, white marble. And then we have this gray concrete texture on the wall. And then we've used black in layerings on the ceiling with diffuse light. So, you can see three textures here. One is a marble texture, which is not rough to feel, but soft. And then the wall texture, which is a little coarse. You can actually feel the coarseness of the texture. And then you have the black polish, which is very smooth. So color and texture has been represented in this place very beautifully. Just in front of that gray textured wall, you can see a little brownish copperish unit, which also has a dual tone of texture of materials. So how to use and how to blend and then put it into your projects definitely gives you that extra edge above the others. That is very, very important. So here also, if you can see the first black and white pictures of the same apartment that we've earlier discussed. And so you can see the same marble, then you have a wallpaper. So this is all is visual texture. You know, textures can be divided into two parts, which is visual and which can be felt. So if you have a rough texture, then that you can feel. But then these kind of wallpapers and marble finishes and the textured laminates that you see are just for visual texture appeal. So these kind of spaces can be differentiated and incorporated, and it definitely gives a extra, character to the space. Now, coming to the core factors of influence design. That's being the main topic that we wanted to discuss today, but then we had to go through the basics to reach to the final input of it. So what are the factors that influence design? Materials and finishes, purpose, function and context, human-centered design, innovation and creativity, visual, tactile and aesthetic, technology, sustainability, economics. So we'll be going through all the topics one by one, and we'll be discussing ahead. Now, here we're discussing about materials and finishes. As earlier we spoke about elements of design, in which we just learned about textures and the colors, how they play a role. So here you can see a mood board, and this is an actual mood board for my ongoing project of a bar lounge. So what we are doing here is, if you can see the floor combination, we've given the sofa, we've given the artwork kind of piece, and then we've been using some gold to it. It has a very, very classical feel to it. So materials, colors, and all the elements that we, discussed about form the factors that influence design. So material and finish definitely changes the entire scheme and the appeal of the space. So a little change in color, for that matter, if I change the sofa fabric from red to somewhere, maybe you say aqua, so aquamarine color, which is very trending. So the entire feel of the space is going to change. Likewise, if you can see the kind of lights that we've incorporated, the moment we add a little modern light to it, the feel of the space will again change. So use of proper materials and finishes, be it residential, commercial, hospitality, any kind of project, or for that matter, any kind of other design as well. If other design professionals, students are also there, you can definitely turn around the same design concept with the change of materials and finishes. And it really connects. The kind of colors and materials we use can actually change the mood of the person or the people, using that space. For that matter, if we are using a darker tone, the person using that space is going to be a different zone. And for that, if you're using a lighter tone, a peppy tone, it changes the mood. So factors of these influencing factors are really I would say, important to make a person feel the way they should feel in a specific place. So if you're talking about a restaurant where the person should come and feel happy and energetic and connected and feel like eating a lot of food. So that those spaces should be more classy, more connected, and the use of colors. If you use dull colors in a restaurant, that will make a person feel a little low on energy, and I don't think we would want that. For that matter, we use lighter tones in residences because we want to feel at peace. When we're coming home, we want that space to feel ours, and just a space to unwind all that we've gone through the day, moving around outside. So a space definitely defines with the kind of materials, finishes, and colors that we use. Purpose, function, and context. Now, this includes the reason or need of a product in the context and environment of its use. This includes its operation, performance, reliability, and quality. The primary and secondary functions and features that supports its use are considered. So I think we have been discussing this in little here and there, that the purpose for what the product, the function of the product, and the context of the product. These things are really, really, really important, and they play a major and vital role in the actual outcome of the product. And when the purpose is defined, when the function is defined, and why and what are sorted, then only we are able to use the materials and textures as per the product expectation or the requirement. So the purpose, how do you define a purpose? So the simple thing and the formula is to know the requirements of the client, the customer, the end user. Sometimes there is an end user who you can discuss when you're designing few projects or products, for that matter, which has a large mass appeal, where you're not able to kind of discuss it on one-to-one. Then I think we go in for a general reference criteria, and we kind of design products for those purposes. The function of the product, which was primarily thought of, should be fulfilled. So if you're designing something based on the discussions or the requirements or what the basis that you've received, and the function is not sorted, or the function is not kind of fulfilled, then the product is a failure. So that's what I was saying, that if we are making a space for a person to feel happy, connected, and if we are failing in that, if we are not able to provide that kind of atmosphere or spatial experience to the end user, then definitely the function is a failure. So the purpose is very important, and likewise the function. And the context, definitely. We've been talking about it, that the entire thing makes sense when it is kind of connected. So the end product is always connected to the start of the requirement. So the ends have to meet, and then only the design is I would say, a proper output. And I think when clients come to us, and we are able to kind of give them and satisfy their needs, their requirements of a space, that is very satisfying as a professional also. So a lot of documentation, lot of research, lot of experience, lot of referencing goes into this process. It's not just that you're listening and then you're making, because there are so many things which are changing, as we discussed about the design changes, that the computation is coming in. We are exposed to kind of the social media, you are traveling, you are looking at so much stuff, everything is changing, the materials are changing, the usability is changing. So it involves a lot of documentation and research. So whenever we also get a project or a design requirement, we kind of sit through it, we take out references, we have design discussions. So our entire team sits onto it, we kind of make presentations. Then definitely we are also evolving all the time. So we go through these kind of processes to reach the final outcome. And it doesn't stop there. We again have to go back and forth to do the same thing, because sometimes it is ourselves that we are evolving and judging ourselves, and so we go to some line of action, and then again we go back to do much better for ourselves as design outputs. So there's a lot of discussion. So it's very important to actually connect to your end user, for us the client, and to have that understanding of the process, which is really, really, really important. Human-centered design. So we have been talking tips and bits here. It is all a compilation of everything that we've discussed. So human problems or needs identified to improve well-being and quality of life, cultural and religious considerations, age, economic status, emotional and sensory appeal, universal design, social and physical needs, fashion and trends are considered in response to these needs. Safety, accessibility, comfort, ergonomics, anthropometric data may also need consideration. So, like I spoke on the earlier slide, that you need to think about it. You need to learn. You need to take referencing. You need to discuss. You need to do data collection, and then definitely compiling everything gives you a go ahead on it. So as we discussed earlier, that we are all different from each other, and hence our requirements, and culture is a major part of design, which sometimes we don't even realize. Broadly speaking, culture is a set of shared attitude, values, behaviors and beliefs. We spoke about it, right? Because that really determines the kind of design output we are looking at. And traditions that categorizes a group of people and distinguishes them from the other groups. Culture though can be a source of inspiration and constraint both. We've talked about colors, so I would like to be more specific here, because we are talking about now human-centered design. So if we take a color red, right? So a red color represents love and purity in India. When we talk about love, we think red. When we talk about good auspicious things, marriage, for that matter, we do some worshipping. We connect it with the red color, but danger and passion is what is red connected to in the Western culture. Likewise, China terms it as a good luck. So, Indian China thing. So good luck sign in China. And South Africa, where it's always a little trouble space, the red is considered and connected to the color of mourning and death, which is very sad. So just imagine the diversity that we are living in, that the same color, a simple thing as color, can be differently perceived in different parts of the world, and so drastically different. So the same color is happy for us, and the same color is sad for a person. So we really don't realize that these things affect us. In India, we always think about red, and we always put in red to brighten up the space. So when we start studying about these trends and about these characteristics, that what a color or what this trend or what this social character really means, we'll be able to do a better design. For discussing ahead, I think arches are also a big palette of discussion, because there are various number of arch designs, and arches mean different to different social societies, I would say, and they also are a part of different eras. So a simple arch, a tapered arch, a round arch, a stepped arch. There are so many arches, and then they have different eras and connects. Some arches are relevant to in the Mughal architecture, if you connect. Some arches are relevant to happy spaces, and some arches are relevant to, you know, the tombs or the maqbaras of people. So when we start studying about these things, then only we get to understand that how, what, and where to be incorporated. Likewise, the kind of interiors that we are doing now, where we are wanting to connect with the nature. So what we do here, we connect with the nature by using natural products in the design elements, in the design spaces. The picture here that you are seeing is a picture of my actual site, and it's an entry to a banquet space, which is a human-centered space. So here we wanted to create that grandeur feel that when a person is entering into this banquet space, the steps, it's a complete stepped entrance, and you can see two big walls on the sides with empty frames just framing on the walls, and then you have these chandeliers which are actually dropping down quite low to, you know, give you the feel of the space. So when you walk up the space, it connects with you. It gives you that feeling of grandeur. So that's what I was talking about, how to kind of connect design elements, design factors, and how to create spaces which are actually relevant to the need of the end user. So walking into a banquet with this grandeur, you definitely feel, you know, that space is, because the span is large and you feel that connect to it. So that is what was achieved here. So yeah. The second, like this is another picture of a pool that we've done. So it is also human centric, and the spaces, the kind of appeal, the kind of feel that you want to have here. It's a day picture, pool sides. This place looks definitely more amazing in the evening as well. I don't have those pictures as of now. So these spaces are also, you know, human-centric spaces where people want to get into the pool. They want to enjoy the spaces with nature around. So how do you, you mold the spaces? What kind of characters do you incorporate? So this is a setup in a remote area. So we didn't want to incorporate a lot of bright color, polished material. So whatever you can see here is, earthy material base, giving that connect to the social space, the surrounding space of the project. So when you enter here, you're not, kind of in a shock that you've entered something different. So the design should also be human-centric and merged, kind of complementing the surrounding that you are having. It really makes a huge difference to the design output. If you have, just imagine if you have a nice arched, a nice intricate, ancestral building with a lot of frescoes and a lot of columns, and then suddenly you have a tall building standing next to it, which is full of ACP and glass facades. So the kind of cultural shock, visual shock you're going to get is tremendous, and it will never appeal to you. So everything that we are designing is rotating around us itself, be it a smaller product or be it large scale buildings that we are doing. When we talk about skyscrapers, the buildings, the high rises, they kind of, okay, they are majorly being developed because we are short of space on land. So instead of growing horizontally, we are growing vertically. But then the kind of feel that it gives us is also a factor of design. I would like to share one experience. Recently, I was traveling in Mumbai and I was going to um, Lower Parel from Andheri. And Andheri is an area where, you know, you have like a nominal sized, nominal height building, you know, no high risers. And then suddenly, you know, when you're approaching Lower Parel, you are kind of going over this flyover. And that was my first experience. I'm like not a Mumbai person, so I recently started traveling to Mumbai. So I felt that while, you know, going onto the flyover, I had all the buildings, all the high rises beside me, and it was such a feeling of awe. So just imagine in the middle of that high rise setup, if we have a shorter building, flatter building, it will spoil the space, it will spoil the visual appeal, and it will also not be you know, as attractive as it could have been if it would have been a high riser in the middle of an high riser, definitely with its own characters. So, you know, spaces, what, as designers, as you know, design input people, what are we giving back to the society, what, how are we putting it ahead, is very, very, very important. So I think human-centered design is a major factor for you know, factor of influence for design output. Innovation and creativity. This is the best part. I really love this part because I'm always looking out for, you know, doing something different, trying to do something different, learning and doing. It's always a learning process, and I'm also still learning. So now this is a project we've done in Raipur, and it's a double height lobby space of a banqueting property. So a lot of people are going to come here, and we wanted to create a feature, you know, which could be a wall art, which could be an element of surprise, and which could also, you know, kind of have a connect to the kind of activity that we are having there. So if you can see the form of it, if you can see that the lines and shapes and the form that it has been, you know, dealt with. So the structure is starting from the floor and going up on the wall, turning onto the ceiling, then turning on the glass side, and then it is falling down, and it is forming into a bench. If you can look closely, it's forming into a bench ahead. So actually, I had designed this for a design presentation for FOED, in which they had given us this exercise, you know, to design something out of a single material base. So I took up this real site of mine, actual site of mine, and designed this process here so that, you know, if it comes out nice, we can definitely use it in this space as well. And I think it is a mixed element. So you should always, you know, kind of look into what, how, and where you can, you know, kind of innovate, taking all the forms and all the design factors into consideration, and have something new every time. And that's how you explore your creativity. And if you're using the same material, then also if you're using the same material in a different way, like we always, personally, I am also looking, I'm always looking out for, you know, new products, new material palette, so that you have a little freshness in all the projects every time. It doesn't become monotonous. So we kind of, you know, find, first we kind of discuss the design, and then we sit on to the development of it. So the kind of requirements and everything put together, we develop the format, and then we detail it out, and then we reach onto the material palette. So as this is rightly said, that innovation requires a creative approach to develop new or improved solutions to unsolved problems or opportunities. But then who creates these opportunities? We create our opportunities. The client is coming to us for something fresh. So it is up to us, it is our responsibility actually to, you know, give them something fresh every time that a client walks in. So we have to be in that zone of, you know, being creative and always innovating something, looking out for something new, fresh, appealing, and offer that back to the society or the client. And definitely it is a tedious process that you follow, but then it is manageable if you really know what, how, and from where. So design development and kind of innovating it is also a very important part of the project that we are doing. Okay. Now, visual, tactile, and aesthetic. This is another factor that influence our design majorly. And if you have been hearing, these factors, they connect to each other. None of them is separate. None of them is going to be very different. So all is interweaved. They all are interweaved, and they all play a very, very, very important role in the design outcome. So these factors relate to the product's form, appearance, and feel. The design principles of balance, emphasis, repetition, movement, rhythm, pattern, proportion, symmetry, space, and surface qualities are used to combine and arrange the design elements. So we are creating spaces, as we discussed textures also. So we kind of don't highlight the entire space in a segment or a room or a property or whatever you're designing. So you're always highlighting one element with some or the other material or form or color. So in this picture, if you see, it's a simple kitchen dado that we've done, which has a basic plain beige color tile, and then these are handmade tiles of mustard and white. So you can just pick up a simple form, a simple material, and turn it into something which can become very appealing and different looking at the same time. So it is very imperative and very important to know, to understand, and then to decide what to do. So the basis of everything that we are discussing is to know what the requirement is, what the product base starts from, and what has to be the end result of it. In between, we are always, tackling with these things, which is the elements of design, which are the factors that influence design. So all these things are only relevant when you know what is needed and how to give it. So we nowadays really like to pop up some color in our design elements. So, we kind of mix the materials and incorporate a lot of different finishes and forms, and some highlighting elements to, kind of infuse life to the spaces. So, yeah, and I think our clients are happy because they come back to us again, forth and again, to do more projects. So that indicates that, you're doing something right to, keep your clients satisfied. So the content is there when you're designing spaces for these people. So that is also very important. Now, the pool side that I had shown you earlier for a different discussion, this has a bar space in that segment also. So, this was earlier a hut that was incorporated there, and then we kind of opened it up and we created this bar for the experience. It is connected to the pool side. So it is a human-centric design. We wanted people to feel the span of the space. It is a very open-ended space. So we have taken a heighted bar back wall and created high roofs and high entrance areas. And likewise, if you can see the products, the elements that are being used, the big steps, big planters. So all these, small things. And if you can see the amalgamation of lines and forms here, how, strategically we've used lines, squares, patterns, prints, the color tone. So it is very important to know, to create a palette, to understand the requirement, to understand what finally needs to be given to the person ahead. And you being the main connect, you have to kind of always be on a self-evolving phase, to keep yourself updated, to keep yourself energized, to kind of connect the links that we are talking about today. Technologies. This is really interesting because it is going crazy nowadays. So the tools, processes, and manufacturing methods. So talking about the basic manufacturing methods, if you remember earlier, the carpenter, all the contractors, they had all the work to be done by hand. Now, slowly, there are so many processes that have come in that help us lower the burden, increase the output, and a better finish. Definitely with the use of these processes and machines and the manufacturing methods, and the conversion techniques of changing raw materials into usable forms. So a lot of innovative machineries have come in, wherein you can actually achieve something different every time. So if you know the technicalities of the base product, the base material, and you know what you want, and the kind of output detailed drawings are ready, and you understand the technicality of that product, the features and the characteristic of the product, then definitely you can turn the product into a fresh, a kind of a different concept every time. And technology definitely helps us that way. Artificial intelligence. I want to take this into the technology part of it, because technology as a working tool is okay there. Now technology as an experience tool is also coming in. So nowadays we have the artificial intelligence spaces for the entire the space that we are creating. There are so many things to be explored, from touch buttons to voice controls. So just you're sitting at one place, you can just connect to your house. You can see who is standing at your door, even if you're not at the house. If you can, turn on your gadgets, you can give that experience. You can look into the safety measures. You can do so much with technology. There's a firm, Cybertecture, by James Law in Japan, and he does some amazing projects with the use of these technologies, with the artificial intelligence. So I had to happen to attend one of his design presentations, and it was in India a few years back. So he showed us an apartment wherein it was based on a central axle, and the general wiring and all the conduits and everything was just passing through that central pole, and the entire house was kind of a part and a rotation of spaces on that central axle. So it was an amazing change of spaces, the usability of the spaces. Everything was so just out of the world. Definitely technology has to be controlled and definitely used very, very strategically, but you can definitely do wonders with the artificial intelligence and the kind of exposure that we're getting to it. He also showed us some kind of a mirror in the washroom. So you're getting up, you're going to the washroom, you're standing in front of your mirror at the basin area, and there's kind of a mat which you're standing on, and the moment you step onto it, you see all your vitals on the mirror. So it's reading your body statistics. So, kind of you're keeping a check on yourself, your health. It is, that's what we are doing on smart watches nowadays. We are monitoring our ECG levels and whatnot, heartbeats and everything. So technology, if incorporated in the right way, it is a very influential factor that can transform your space from, switching off the change of colors with the light medium and with the change of scenes in the space and whatnot. Everything is just on a touch of the button, and I think we are well versed with now sitting in one space and using gadgets and having the world in our palm, and we can connect to everything. So that is how we can connect spaces also, and have a better monitored, better accessible, better surfaced lifestyle, I would say. Sustainability. So this is something that we always talk about as designers. We should have, we should use sustainable materials. We should have green buildings. So many people are now getting into the IGBC, and they are working accordingly to the norms and trying to create sustainable environments, sustainable buildings. But then that is a very, very small percentage. So you, as the future of the design fraternity, I would really like to encourage you to get into this system, learn more about it, and try to be more attentive towards it, more connected to it, and be a little more nature sensitive. There are n number of materials and which are sustainable and which can actually give us a more kind of a sustainable living, which is not disturbing the environment. And definitely, I also feel this, that demand generates need. And so when we as designers will start demanding for more sustainable products, more environment friendly material palette, there will be a development and a need to develop the systems likewise. So it's a cycle. So maybe I leave you with that thought that you should kind of look into it, study more about it. There are so many interactive courses, there are recommendations, and you should kind of, when you're starting your practice, when you're getting into the field, you should actually keep this in the back of your mind majorly wherever possible, and kind of develop your line of practice in such a way, because that is the way forward to taking care of our environment and our social economic fraternity. Economics. So now talking about everything backwards, everything boils down to economics. That is the time and cost that goes into the project. So this becomes the defining factor that influences a project. Now you can do endless designs, you can think about endless materials, you can pick up the finest finishes and textures, and yet if you have a specific cost to a project, or you have to fit into a budget of a client, then you have to manage it accordingly. So the first important thing is to understand the requirement of the client, and the second important thing is to understand what is the cost or the budget attached to the project or the product that you are designing. That is really, really very important to define the final parameter of design. There are times when clients also come to us with a very minor, meager budget, but the project sizing and the requirement is extensive. So as designers, it is our responsibility to know that this kind of a project will demand this kind of an input in a costing factor. So likewise, if you know it, you'll be able to suggest the client or the end customer that this product or project will not be possible in this kind of a budget. So, we can kind of convince the client, or we can kind of, have a discussion, or partition the work, or span it out. There are so many ways to do it, but understanding the cost at the start of the project is very important, because otherwise you lose track of it, and then it can land you in a mess. So it is always very important to know the costing of a project beforehand. Definitely it's a tentative, the client also understands that it's going to be a little 5-10% here and there. They also understand that, and it happens because in the span of the project, sometimes the labor cost increases, the material cost changes, the specification changes. Sometimes you feel that, okay, the design that you've done demands a better material, or sometimes the client feels that, okay, instead of a 150 square feet tile, I would like to go in for an Italian marble. So the kind of product changes, the design changes, the requirement changes, the cost also gets affected. But then definitely an initial budget, a costing on the entire project is very, very, very important. And likewise goes for time. We always say time is money, and it definitely is. We always talk about from the client's perspective. Today, I would like to talk from our perspective. So when we are taking up a project, we are thinking about the timeline, and we calculate the costing of the project for our commercial fees, depending upon the kind of input and the time that we're going to put in. So just imagine that we're taking up a project, and we think that it's going to wind up in somewhere around 3 months, and we charge an X amount for the project. And for whatever reason, sometimes the delay is from the client side, but sometimes the delay is also from the designer's side. So we as designers, we don't realize that the moment we are delaying a project, we are not able to finish a project in a speculated timeline, we are losing on the profit of the fee structure or the input that we are supposed to receive. So timeline, we always talk about from the client's perspective that we should give the project on time, and the client should not feel that we are delaying the project. But then it is also important for us as professionals, for us as the working people, that because then we are not actually getting something out of it, because there is so many things that go into the working of a project. You are investing so much into the team, the outputs, the 3Ds and everything. So what are you left with? So if you're increasing the time, so everything goes into vain. So I have learned this through my working years, and I've realized this, that time is important, more important than the client. It should be more important to us for a better outcome of the project. Along with this, it is also important that you're designing a project in one era. With the inset of social media, the design scheme, the design trends, the design influx is so that you are developing some pattern, some design concept for a client, and if it gets delayed, it starts feeling from a different era altogether, because there's so much of design influx happening. And then inevitably your project is getting a little laid back, and the output that you want, the kind of feel that time when you are actually handing over the project, the kind of projects and everything that is happening around, that old project, the project that took a lot of time to finish off, loses its charm. So this thing is really really important for us as professionals to look into the proper costing of a project and look into the proper timeline of a project and work things accordingly. It is always better to take up a project, complete the entire drawing set, and then kind of start the project, so that you have the entire work bank ready, the material bank ready, and then you start the project. And then the hardships of the starting the site and finishing it off on time is a little easier on you. So this is very important, and you should take care of this throughout your all of your projects. Maybe be it a little small 200 square feet space or a 2000 square feet or a 2 lakh square feet space, we should always keep these things into account. So if you are able to deliver a design that makes people happy and content, then you are a successful designer. And remember this forever: you are the main connect between the design factors and the final outcome. So always choose wisely. All these factors, all these elements, all the design discussion that we had today is only possible if you, as the connect between the client, the end user, and these elements and all the design discussions, all the design bases, the connect is you. And if you understand, if you communicate, if you deliver, if you do all the processes in sync with each other, it's the best way to go ahead. Thank you.
Wow, Pratna ma'am, this was a fantastic session. Students loved it, and we've put so many comments and questions from students. And we would love to have you back regarding the same and get in touch with our students. Thank you so much. This was a beautiful way of spending a Sunday afternoon. Too so much productive, and this has given us a good enthusiasm to kickstart our new week with the knowledge that you've shared. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, all the students who joined us, all the people who are watching us YouTube live. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.